Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for a special masterclass that will teach you how to prepare your body before, during, and after pregnancy. My name is Britt with Forum Health. For those of you not familiar, Forum Health is an expanding nationwide network of industry-leading healthcare providers who serve patients with a root cause approach to care. Our network of practitioners have decades of functional and integrative medicine experience, drawn from areas in clinical nutrition, anti-aging, environmental medicine, chronic disease, lifestyle medicine, and so much more. For more information, visit us at forumhealth.com. All right, let's get started. Our speaker tonight is functional medicine and certified prenatal nutritionist, Brittany Golden of Forum Health Clarkston. Brittany has a combined background of conventional medicine, fitness training, and holistic healing. She earned an honors Bachelor of Science degree in health and wellness from Kaplan University. And she also went on to become certified functional nutritionist, as well as a certified prenatal and postpartum nutritionist. Using customized nutrition plans to reverse and delay chronic illness, she believes in helping others get their health back without surgery or medications whenever possible. Welcome, Brittany.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thank you for speaking with us tonight. I know this is a hot topic that I'm sure many women are excited to learn about. So, pregnancy, we know it can be a very beautiful thing, but we also know it can come with a host of symptoms like fatigue, nausea, weight gain, constipation. I can go on and on. And sometimes even more serious conditions.
Yes.
So to start off, I wanted to ask you, what exactly is pre and postnatal nutrition? And why is it more important than we're led to believe?
Yeah. So, really the biggest thing with that is that health outcomes can really begin to establish as early as preconception. So really what we're eating, what we're taking in when we're trying to conceive, it has an effect on the baby to be, and so eating a balanced diet, it keeps that inflammation level really low. It helps you stay feeling really good, but also to be in a better spot when you are conceiving the baby in the first place. During pregnancy, obviously, everything you take in goes directly to the baby. And so this time should be really closely monitored. There should be a big effort on the mother as to what's being eaten, what's being drank, what's being taken in. Aside from just the baby, though, the mom has needs of her own too, nutritionally speaking. And if you're under eating, there's not much left for mom. Right. So eating a balanced diet helps, again, keep that inflammation at bay, which, like you just mentioned, the fatigue, the aches and pains, headaches, all of those things, it can help balance some of those things out. And then in the postpartum phase, the same rules apply if many women are choosing to breastfeed. The same rules apply. You're giving that nutrition to the baby. So you want to make sure that what you're ingesting is healthy and that you're taking in enough for both of you.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's really all about what you put into your body. You are what you eat, and of course, what your baby eats.
Yes.
Prenatal vitamins, there's a big market for that. And it's hard to really know what to pick sometimes.
Yeah.
Are all prenatal vitamins created equally?
No. So a lot of the conventional prenatal vitamins have folic acid instead of folate, which is harder for the body to break down and to utilize. So about 50% of the population has a genetic SNP called MTHFR, and that impedes the body's ability to break down that folic acid to make it into folate, the more usable form. And that can have some negative effects on the body. It's just usually a cleaner brand too when you get a methylated vitamin anyway. So there's not the extras like the preservatives and different things that can be in there. So definitely not all created equal. You want to make sure you're getting a methylated form. You're checking those ingredients, making sure there's nothing foreign in there for sure.
That's great. Yeah, that's great to know. It helps to simplify it when you're shopping online or in the store, because it can be really overwhelming, confusing sometimes. I think all supplements are.
Yes,
especially prenatal.
Right, right. So it helps when you have a prenatal or postpartum nutritionist working with you to give you those brand recommendations as well.
Definitely. Another question I had is, what are some of the best things a woman can do for their body and their future baby, even well before conception?
Yeah. So again, I would recommend that good methylated prenatal vitamin for sure to get the body ready and with enough available folate to be passed on. Too soon isn't too soon, kind of a thing with that. A detox actually is really beneficial. So clearing out the junk to create that healthy environment. In fact, sometimes that can be the difference for some women of conceiving within a few months and the difference of somebody who it's taking a very long time. It can be some of those toxins that are present that's preventing the body from kind of allowing that pregnancy to happen. Another thing I recommend for women would be gut healing. You can't do too much of that while pregnant because it comes with, part of that detox, is doing gut healing. You can't really do detox too much while you're pregnant and nursing and postpartum period. So gut healing for sure. We pass our gut to our baby. That's another thing to know.
Really?
Yeah. So if you have a parasite or leaky gut or candida or anything going on, and then you have a pregnancy, chances are that's going to kind of go on to them. So you hear about these babies and, young kids who have like food allergies and food sensitivities and stomach problems. And it's like, well, where is that coming from at such a young age? It can sometimes be it was handed down. So
Wow.
by doing that gut cleanup, you're kind of setting them up for more success.
I did not know that. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing for me. Like when I got into functional medicine, learning that, I was like, whoa, I have work to do.
That's a good motivator. That's a
Yes, it is for sure. The other things that I would recommend for someone trying to conceive would be cleaning up the diet. So reducing and eliminating preservatives, prepackaged foods, toxic foods, pop, sugar, caffeine, all those things that you have to eliminate when you get pregnant anyway, right? Or should. And then discontinuing unhealthy lifestyle habits, poor stress management, poor sleep schedule. If you're a smoker, if you're a drinker, you need to work on eliminating this anyway. But all of those are toxins and those get stored up in the body. So you're creating life from your own tissue, and that's going to take from those toxins too. And then increasing fitness would be the last tip I think I would have on that front would be, even just getting some walking in, doing some stretching, some yoga. I love bar and Pilates for my pregos. I think those are really, really great activities for them to engage in. So yeah, I would say those would be my tips for conception.
I think they're great. And how far in advance should you start changing your diet and doing a lot of these preventative things before you're hoping to conceive?
Well, too soon is never too soon, but I would say realistically, I would at least go on the prenatal vitamin, 3 to 6 months prior to trying to conceive. And in the meantime, while you're getting on that prenatal, start working on these other areas, of cleaning things up and making those lifestyle modifications.
That makes sense. I mean, just to be a healthier and happier
Yes.
person, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to lose weight in the process, most likely, getting rid of some of that inflammation and making those changes, which is going to, again, create that healthy vessel.
Yes. And like I said before, it's great motivator to clean all of that up, knowing that you pass all of that on to your baby.
Yes, for sure.
So kind of along that line is hydration. I know, doctors are constantly preaching about drinking water and staying hydrated.
Mhm.
What's important to note about hydration, particularly during pregnancy and postpartum?
Yeah. So really, really important. And I would say, majority of my clients, when they're starting off with me, pregnant or not, postpartum or not, just generally, are chronically dehydrated. This is just kind of standard American. So when in our clinic, we have something called a body composition analysis, where we can actually look at the intracellular fluid and the extracellular fluid and see what that balance looks like. And most people, it's in the wrong direction. They don't have enough intracellular fluid, so they're not hydrating. So drinking enough water is something most people don't do, but when they're pregnant, you really need to be making sure that you're getting enough, because you've got the amniotic fluid, you've got to produce extra blood, build new tissue, carry nutrients, enhance your digestion. That's all being smashed and compressed along the way, and flush out the waste and the toxins. So, I have people start off with me at about 64 ounces of water a day as the bare bones minimum. But during pregnancy and nursing, you really want to be about 75 to 100 ounces of water a day.
Wow. Which is difficult to get through sometimes when you actually see that volume.
My little water bottle here, this is 32 ounces. So like, I know I at least need 2 of them.
Right. Yes. It's a good way to gauge it.
Yes. Going to the bathroom is a full-time job when you're hydrated.
It is, isn't it? That's so true. No, but that's great to know. I mean, all of those tips, and you're right. Most of us are dehydrated anyway.
Yeah.
Kind of going along with hydration. I know a lot of women are always curious about what fitness is safe and the best thing to do during pregnancy. What are some tips, would you say, around fitness activities?
Yeah. So it's so important to keep your body moving during pregnancy. It's going to reduce your aches and pains. It's going to keep your energy, even though it's like the last thing you sometimes want to do. So I'll be, open with the viewers here. I've had 2 pregnancies myself, and they weren't that long ago. My second is only 16 months old. So I'm still technically postpartum, right? And it does make a huge difference during pregnancy as well as after, for the way that you feel, to just keep that body moving. So not that long ago, the recommendations were pretty strict. You always heard like, oh, don't lift that, kind of a thing. And yes, you do have to be careful with your form and things, because you have all that relaxin hormone throughout the body. So you're more prone to injury. So there is that goes along with it. You have to be careful, but you don't want to stop all activity. In fact, in the first trimester, you really can proceed with anything you've already been doing. So even, I've had clients who do CrossFit, and they continue to do that as long as their energy allows. You don't want to push it too much, but they've continued to lift pretty heavy. They've continued to do, their box jumps and all the things. So that's great. As long as you can keep up on it and you feel good while you're doing it, that's fine. As the uterus grows, it can push on your vena cava, and this can restrict blood flow to the uterus. It can restrict blood flow to the baby, to yourself. So this is, you don't want to do anything on your back after about like week 20. So those are things to, be cognizant of. And then other than that, third trimester is just basically like whatever's comfortable, right? Because you become the fitness ball. So you have to be.
You are the fitness ball. Yes.
You are the fitness ball. Core activity becomes almost non-existent. You can do some things to the side, type of a thing, but we're not doing crunches. We're not doing planks. And again, it's to what your ability allows, in the sense of, if you can continue to lift and feel safe and have good form, then by all means, that's great. During my pregnancies, I walked every day, even sometimes a couple times a day. I did, I've already mentioned it, barre and Pilates and yoga are my 3 favorite things for pregnancy and postpartum, because they're low impact. It doesn't mean they're easy by any means. You still get your heart rate up, you still break a really good sweat, and you're still sore. So don't think low impact means, you're just doing just gentle stuff. You're working, right. But you definitely, like I said, once you get to that third trimester, it's a little more tricky. You just have to be more choosy with what you're doing. Moderate weight workouts. Swimming is another one that's great. And that takes some of the pressure off of the joints, that get a little bit more compressed. And some people are in, pretty great deal of pain, discomfort towards the end. And it's almost like
Oh, yeah, very freeing.
When you get in the water.
Oh, yeah, very freeing.
Yes, definitely. And movement really, I mean, it's great because like I said, it helps reduce that fatigue. It helps reduce the aches and pains. It helps to monitor your weight, right? So we're not gaining too much. And then it can also help with a smoother delivery process, recovery process, because you're strengthening those muscles that are getting geared up to deliver the baby.
Yeah, all of that makes sense. I think it's great advice. Keep moving. That's the
Yes,
bottom line. Keep
yes,
moving as
yes.
much as you can.
Even if it's just walking, it's better than nothing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a way to de-stress too. Um,
Yes.
what are some ways women can really take control of their health during pregnancy and postpartum? I know that can be a challenge sometimes, especially if they have other kids or family to take care of. What are some
Yes.
like, easy tips that they
Mhm.
can do?
Yeah. So I think, really the biggest thing, especially with the care, like taking control of your care, there's some really valuable information I learned along the way as I went. And I had, I'm what somebody may consider a crunchy mom. Never heard that term before.
Crunchy granola. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So I definitely, it took time to get where I'm at, right? And I've had to learn and unlearn a lot of things. But I would say, the biggest thing is know that there are options. Example, the glucose test. So I didn't know because there's many people who don't. The ingredients in that are not all that great. In
Mm.
fact, there's an ingredient in there that's brominated vegetable oil, which is a flame retardant. And this is actually banned in other countries like Japan and Europe. So for me, when I learned that, I was like, okay, well, I'm not drinking that. So what's our other choices? So I did organic jelly beans with my first glucose test. And then with my second one, my nurse practitioner, she knew me by then and my ways. And she was like, I have something for you. You don't have to slam all those jelly beans this time. And I was like, cool. What? Because you think that'd be fun until you have to do it in like 60 seconds.
Right.
You're like, oh my God. So she gave me this fresh test is what it was called. That was the brand.
Okay.
And it was no chemicals. It's just the sugar. And I put that in my little drink when they gave me the timer and down it went and all good. So just know that there are options for certain things. This isn't a one size fits all, kind of program, if you will, with being pregnant.
Right.
What works for one person doesn't always necessarily work for another. Do your own research before, medical decisions, for sure. Be informed about those decisions. That's how you be informed. You do the research first, right? So pregnancy is not a condition and birth is not a procedure. And I think that is really the big takeaway here is that it's not a checklist. You're not a checklist. You have to do what's right for you and for your baby. And sometimes that means having to advocate for yourself or have an advocate with you in the delivery room, whether that be your husband, partner, doula, anything, for knowing what your medical decisions are. It's pregnancy is a scary time. It's beautiful. It's terrifying. It's literally like otherworldly experience.
Yeah.
But you really have to do everything you can to protect your health because you're the only one going to do that, So, just going back to those tips from earlier is, what are we eating? How much are we drinking? As far as water is concerned, are we moving our bodies? Are we managing our stress? Are we sleeping and resting when we need to?
Right. Those are great tips. I love that you said you always have options. There's always other options. And that was a great example of the glucose test. I had no idea there was a flame retardant in that. That's a big wake-up call.
Yes, yes. And there's many things like that in the medical, kind of conventional medicine world. It's not that it's all wrong, right? But it's just that you have choices. And if your preference is to be more natural minded and to have less toxins, because there's plenty of people who don't care at all and they'll drink diet pop while they're pregnant and, do whatever. But And that's fine. That's totally fine. You have that. This is a free country, right? But just know you have those choices. If you are a person who thinks like me and probably like you, since you work for a functional minded
Right. Yeah, of course.
you would just want to know that there are choices.
Absolutely. Well, my next question kind of goes into that. I would love
Okay.
to know what you would like to see changed regarding conventional postpartum care.
That is a great one.
That's a
That's
big
a great
one.
question.
Big
Yes,
one.
I'll get back to you on it. No.
No problem. We'll see you next week.
Right, exactly. I would say, I think, you get these back-to-back appointments, right? For how long? And you go in and you get weighed and you get to talk to people, you get to be around others. People are interested in what's going on with your body and what's going on with the baby, and let's listen and let's look and all this. Then the baby comes and bam, it's like, bye, see ya. You're on your own. Take care. You have a newborn and good luck.
Good luck.
It's what it is. And then at the 6-week appointment, you get a 15-minute visit with your doctor to follow up on all of that. It's not enough.
No.
Mothers really deserve more support. Especially think about like how many more people would be successful with breastfeeding if there were more support systems for lactation consultants. You really have to like beg and plead for that, to have that kind of support. I would like to see more attention to issues like postpartum anxiety and depression, and more resources than just a Zoloft prescription.
Yes.
Giving them the understanding of talking to the OB clients and patients about what to eat in the postpartum period. That can have a huge effect on your anxiety or depression. You're already sleep deprived. If you get nutrient deprived, that spirals, right? And then we start going down those paths that it can be really hard to come back from.
Right.
There's like a lot of guilt trips in the meantime, because sometimes there can be negative thoughts that are attached to that, and you feel like there's something wrong with you, and so a lot of clients that I have met with have dealt with issues like this. Teaching women how to get themselves set up for success with even just creating like a meal train, right? And saying like, listen, if you would like to help me, and everybody wants to come and see the baby, well, hey, when you come, bring something.
Bring something good and healthy.
Something nourishing that we can all eat, right? Family care, setting up, if you have another child and this isn't your first pregnancy, how am I going to deal with that, after the fact? And do I have somebody who's going to come and help me with the toddler? So setting up that family care as well. And circling back to the nutrition, there's a book that I love. It's called The First 40 Days. If anyone's interested and they're planning on either conceiving or they are pregnant, anybody who's on the webinar tonight, or somebody who's pregnant, it's a great postpartum gift. When you go to take the cute onesie over there, bring something for mom too.
Definitely. Don't forget about mom.
Totally. The last thing I would say, I would love to see insurance and OB working together to have every woman who delivers a baby see a pelvic floor therapist as part of the norm. Just like they do in Europe, parts of Europe, they do things like this. Because if you've had a vaginal birth, and even if you haven't, that doesn't mean there hasn't been stress and strain on the pelvic floor.
Right.
Carrying the pregnancy alone can lengthen and stretch out some of those ligaments that then cause incontinence, or issues later. So,
Right.
There's so many women walking around who they make a lot of jokes, and I was one of them for a long time. It's like, oh, don't sneeze, right? Because we're gonna have a problem.
Right.
But it's really not funny at the end of the day. It's something that is overlooked and really should be standard process of care.
I agree. I think that's really well said. And it's something that we never really talk about.
No.
If you have the baby, you're good. We're done with you. And I'm so glad you addressed that. And I'm sure women listening tonight, I'm sure they agree. And hopefully that will change. But in the meantime, if it doesn't change, you can see Brittany at Forum Health Clarkston,
Yes.
and can help you out pre, during, and postpartum.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted to close this out tonight before we open up the class to questions from our audience. I would love to know, you gave us so many good tips and information tonight. I would love to know, what are your best tips for having just the best, healthiest pregnancy?
Yeah. I would say, um, best tips for a healthy pregnancy would be kind of recapping, on what we've already discussed,
Yeah.
moving the body,
Yeah.
staying nice and hydrated, eating those nice, healthy whole foods, reducing your toxic burden. One thing when we talk about toxins is make sure you guys are ditching those wall plugs and
Mm.
your I don't know if I'm allowed to brand drop or not, but those candles with the three things, you know what I'm talking about. Those gotta go.
They're awful too. They don't even smell that good.
Oh, it shouldn't smell like a pie shop in your house. Like, because
They shouldn't at all, right?
I learned once in a detox course, clean shouldn't have a smell. And that was really eye-opening to me. It should smell like nothing. And I'm like, oh
That's a
gosh,
great
and here we all are striving towards like it smelling like a cotton candy field in here.
point. So true, especially when we have these wonderful essential oils that we can diffuse into the.
True. And that's actually a really good point
Yeah,
too.
right.
That's a really good point is yes, essential oils. And there are some that are not pregnancy safe. So make sure you're looking at that, because there are some topically using those. You don't want to be around, and babies too, can be sensitive. So you have to be picky and choosy. But yes, in general, that's a great replacement for candles. So, getting rid of the toxins in the home, the cleaning products, eating the healthy food, moving your body, managing the stress. Baby feels all of it when we have stress. So it's really, really important to make sure that we're on top of that, doing whatever it is we need to do, whether it's meditation, whether it's, some deep breathing, just making sure we're getting our rest and our us time, right?
Yeah.
Because especially if you are a first-time mom and you're listening in, that us time goes out the window pretty quickly. And you have to claw for it to make sure it stays in the realm with you. And and you have to make the effort because otherwise we end up sicker if we don't. So making sure you are reserving that time for de-stressing and rest.
Yes, such good advice. Brittany, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This information is going to help so many women out there, whether they're thinking about becoming pregnant, if they're already pregnant, or you're just dealing with postpartum. This was wonderful information. And I would love to open up the class to questions from our audience. We'll probably take the next 5-10 minutes or so. So here, one just popped up. Again, about supplements. Supplements is a big thing. It can be very confusing sometimes. A lot of fillers, like you said, a lot of artificial ingredients and supplements.
Yes.
Are there any supplements aside from a multivitamin that you recommend taking? And I guess other than folate?
Yes. So with pregnancy, I definitely like for my pregnant people to be on a good quality fish oil. That's also going to help the aches and the pains and the anti-inflammatory component. It's good for so many things, right? I mean, fish oil is brain health, it's healthy cholesterol, it's your heart, it's so many things. So definitely the fish oil. I would say vitamin D. So our host and I both live in the Great White North. And so we both have to really be cognizant of our vitamin D intake, but across the board, you want to they check this when you're pregnant a couple of times to make sure that your levels are healthy, but this should be something you're taking. And then, based on that blood draw is how I make the call of how to dose it. But, you would be safe at least, taking 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams I use of vitamin D daily, and that would be safe. The other thing I would recommend would be, let's think, magnesium. Magnesium is a great one during pregnancy. It's very safe. It's, just a mineral. And so it depends on what's going on with the individual. If they are having like more leg cramps or the restless leg or anything like that, or just more aches and pains in general, magnesium glycinate is a good choice. If they are struggling with, you had mentioned the constipation, very real problem with pregnancy, especially early on. And then again later, because everything is compressed. Yeah. That second trimester is like beautiful, right? It's like you just get that nice break and then bam.
At least you get a little rest, right?
Yes, you do get a little rest. So magnesium citrate would be a good choice for the constipation. But, and then from there, it's based on the individual and kind of what's going on with them. If they have PCOS, sometimes I'll recommend certain blood sugar stabilizers while they're pregnant, which can also help in prevention of having a bad result on the glucose test too. So,
right.
Yeah, but those would be at least the staples.
Kind of to start with. That's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Let's see. Another question came in. Brittany, do you have any resources for natural pregnancy and delivery?
Yes. So it was my goal with both of my pregnancies to have natural childbirth as much as, I went into it open-minded, let's put it that way. Right. But I did take a hypnobirthing class. Oh. And that was super helpful. So it teaches you how to do like basically meditations while you're having, they call them waves or surges, not contractions, because contractions can sometimes be kind of like a scary word and come with a negative connotation. So they call them waves. When you're having these waves, to be able to like get into that deep breathing, because the natural reaction is to shy away from pain or discomfort. And so your body tenses up, but if you're tensed up, then you won't relax enough to let the baby labor down. And so it's a really, really great class. I recommend it to a lot of women who are seeking out that natural childbirthing option. The other thing that I would recommend is look into considering a doula. So they are great because they give you lots of different recommendations of different labor postures, the hip squeezing that they can help your partner, your birthing partner, to help them alleviate some of the back labor, which then in turn may be able to have you prevent or turn down the epidural because you can get through those surges a little more efficiently. Another thing I would recommend, there was a book and I think I did an Audible. I think it was an Audible book, and it's called Natural Hospital Birth. I think that's what the name of it is. And it's by Cynthia Gabriel. And it was fantastic. And I actually used it for my second, not my first. I didn't hear about it until after. But that was super helpful. She gives so many tips. And again, she's a doula, and she talks about choices. She talks about being your own advocate, having that backup pain management plan basically, and things you can do for it. So it was, and she has lots of stories from being a doula of experiences with women and how they overcame their pain.
Yeah, that's amazing. Just by like simple breathing exercises, yes. You can change so much in your pregnancy and really take away that pain. That's great advice. Really, really good advice. Somebody just wrote in, if somebody's having difficulty conceiving, what advice would you recommend? I'm sure a lot of it probably goes back to what you were saying earlier. Is there maybe any tips?
I mean, my first recommendation is always to consider seeing a functional medicine practitioner, because this way you get some guidance, on what the problem really is. Maybe we need to do some lab work. Maybe we need to look into hormone levels, what's going on with that. I would, again, the methylated prenatal, I would definitely do that. I would have your partner take zinc. Zinc can oftentimes help men with their fertility issues. It's not the only answer, but it's a part of an answer. And then I would consider doing some genetic testing. So the MTHFR genetic SNP that I had mentioned earlier regarding the folate versus folic acid, that one actually can lead to infertility issues. So if you know that you have the MTHFR genetic SNP, you can actually get ahead of it and do things to prevent the problems. Unfortunately, a lot of MTHFR women have multiple miscarriages before they figure this information out. and then it gets addressed. It's sometimes a last resort with physicians. Sometimes you even have to ask for it. Not all of them are familiar with that either. And then they pull it, pull the blood and like, oh, well, look at that, kind of a thing. So,
right.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that for sure.
And again, it goes back to being an advocate, really advocating for what you want and the type of pregnancy that you want. Yeah, that's probably, I think, the strongest advice. It's so powerful. It's so empowering.
Yeah, it is. And, the thing to remember too, is that when you are in a doctor's office, when you are in an OB office, whatever, you're the customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you have to remember, is sometimes it's like they go by what they know. And this is not knocking conventional medicine at all. They exist for a reason, right? And they are there when there are problems. The issue stands with it being a one size fits all type of a thing. And that's where, you've got people who are like, but wait a minute, I didn't want that, or I don't need that.
Yeah.
What's the deal? And sometimes it's too late, to go back. So yes, knowing you have choices, be your own advocate, do your research. Yes.
Yes, all of those things.
All
and drink your water. Drink your water. That goes whether you're pregnant or not. Drink your water. It's a good reminder for all of us.
Yes.
So I'll probably take one more question here.
Okay.
And one just came in. Brittany, what is the most helpful alternative medicine advice you received during your pregnancy?
That's a really good question.
I know. There's probably a lot.
Yeah. There were, and I was really blessed too, because I already am in functional medicine. So I already know a boatload of things, right? And I'm not, that sounded really big-headed. That's not what I meant.
Not at all. No.
The knowledge, I have more knowledge than the general population about functional medicine already. I do not claim to know everything. Please know that. I will tell you, I'll be upfront. If I don't know the answer to something, I got to go look that up. I got to go consult with my colleagues on that one. So I do not ever claim to know things that I don't know. I think the best alternative advice I ever got was, I was challenged to dive into some of the controversial topics of pregnancy and postpartum and newborn care, and find out the real why, if you will, behind the way that things are done. And I think that's why I'm kind of passionate about that, and why some of the conversation has kind of strayed that way tonight. To research ingredients of the various things, like we talked about the glucose test. Who would know? You're being given something by a trusted physician, and why would that contain something that could be harmful? That's where the questions have to come in. So the ingredients of what's being put in the body, and the real long-term effects of what that might look like. Another great book recommendation I will make is a book called So You're Going to Have a Baby is the name of it. And it's by Adam Ringham is the author. And it's a great peek into all of this, like the functional medicine world of pregnancy, and questioning, some of those mainstream ideas. It gives great scientific evidence on some things. It was very eye-opening for me. And it is now the gift that I give to every pregnant person that's in my life.
I love that.
Yes. As their congratulations, you're pregnant. You have a lot of deciding to do.
And a lot to read up on.
You have a lot of things you're going to have to make some decisions on, and you've got to be informed about it, right? Or else the decisions are going to be made for you. So, it really is. Even having a birth plan, I went in with my first one. It was a much longer labor, a lot more harder of a labor. And so when I had only dilated to a 7, they were kind of like, you're on the cusp here of missing your chance for your epidural if you want to go that route. And I was like, well, I didn't, but I guess I need a rest, and it was like kind of coming fast and hard. And so, I went ahead and took that. But even with my birthing plan, I went in, handed it to the nurse so like confidently, knowing like I was going to stand up for myself. And the first thing that the doctor wanted to do, because my water had broke before I got there, not completely, but somewhat. First thing the doctor wanted to do when I got there was to start Pitocin. And I was like, but why? I'm dilating. I'm progressing. Why do I need that? And I could see her get very huffy with the fact that I questioned that. And again, it all boils down to, like, I had my husband who he knew the plan. My doula never made it, unfortunately. But yes. And the second time I hired a different doula and she didn't make it because there wasn't enough time. So just always know that that's a possibility, but it's okay because I still got awesome information from her during the pregnancy. And again, the advocating for myself when it push came to shove and there needed to be some decisions made. She was super helpful.
Right.
So circling back, yes, knowing to be my own advocate, I think was some of the best advice I got.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is wonderful. Okay, so part 2, we're going to do part 2 at a later date because I feel like we only touched the surface of this topic.
Yes, there's so much.
Really, I mean, truly, I mean, even, preconception, pregnancy, and postpartum are all their own class onto themselves. But I appreciate you giving us at least just a general overview of everything. And we can always dive into those topics at a later date. And I hope everybody enjoyed it tonight. It's an important topic and really about empowering women.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I love.
Yes, absolutely. Know you have a voice. Just know you have a voice in it.
And use it. Use it. Yes. And in the meantime, visit us at forumhealth.com. Connect with us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and have tons of great health content. So make sure you connect with us there. And thank you again, Brittany, and to everyone who joined us this evening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. This was super fun. I appreciate the opportunity to share my knowledge. Thank you.
Absolutely. It was great. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.